To introduce myself, my name is Charlotte Dahl, and I'm a director of specialist advertising and communications consultancy, Woodreed. I'm so pleased to be hosting my third internal communications conference for Engaged Employee, and I think the fourth conference in general in this format. So I'm starting to feel quite at home here, although missing being able to see the sea of faces in front of me. So to paraphrase Dickens, for the IC profession, the pandemic was perhaps the best of times. It was the worst of times. We had to become master adapters, changing in response to seemingly endless challenges and shifts in priority. But despite everything in 2020, our profession has managed to become a shining light in the darkness as we delivered messages of hope, clarity and togetherness. So what's it like at your place right now? Have you nailed your smart working policies? How are your people feeling? How are you feeling? Energised and full of optimism about what IC did and can continue to deliver? Exhausted by our crazy levels of overproductivity? Or a bit of both? I probably sit somewhere in the middle. As the focus of this conference is the future of IC, I'd just like to set the scene by touching on Gallagher's excellent State of the Sector Report 2021, which highlights 4 key trends for internal communication for 2021 and beyond. The first, probably unsurprisingly, is the digital experience. Digital is now everywhere and here to stay. 2020 turbocharged the workplace digital experience. Are you working alongside IT to design it in line with your communication objectives? Make sure you're in the driving seat and not letting the IT tail wag the comms dog. Have clarity on the purpose of each channel and take an editorial stance to content creation. The second is employee experience. EX impacts CX. All the evidence is there. And with your people, your finest assets, your point of differentiation and your greatest potential advocates, putting their experience front and centre is vital. People are the very purpose of communication. They are the why that determines the narrative of future success. The third is change. And is change the new normal? Man, we've seen a lot of change over the past 18 months. It seems organisations have embraced this, as 43% have culture change programmes planned in 2021. I see this with my own clients, and I'm working on culture change projects for a number right now. But without the right communication plans, creative ideas and authentic messages, employees can become uncertain and remain resistant to change. It's basic human nature. So make sure you have a clearly defined vision and a compelling strategic narrative to share it with your people. And finally, insight, turning feedback into actions. Employee voice is one of the 4 enablers of engagement. It's never been more important to keep tapping into employee voice. But how creative are you in listening to your people? Then, how strategic are you with how you turn that data into meaningful insight? Remember to always ask feedback to your people when you've asked them for feedback. It's a 2-way process. I'm wondering how many of these themes we'll see reflected in the presentations and case studies of our speakers today. And there's only one way to find out, and that's to start the day. So to open the day, it's my pleasure to introduce Den Carter, Head of Channels and Content, Colleague Communication and Culture at British Airways, to the stage. I'm glad you don't have to fit that one onto a business card these days, Den. His approach turns the complex into the simple, improving the colleague experience by actually listening to them. As a decade as a leader in a number of big brand businesses, Den found himself at BA in 2018 for his biggest challenge yet. The 100-year-old airline was drowning in a mismatched 4 legacy intranets, a print publication, over 50 different email newsletters, aka rants and essays, an ESN, a confused employer brand, and overall lack of clarity. No mean feat there. The plan, all of this down to a single multi-purpose app with a 5-year investment. Then along came a pandemic. So Den, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Oh, well, that was a lovely introduction. Thanks, Charlotte. I'm okay, thanks.
Good.
You asked the question about where everyone in the audience might be sitting in terms of being, optimistic about the future, and absolutely frazzled beyond belief. And I'm more on the frazzled side, to be honest, but I'm also optimistic about the future too, because you know what, we've learned a huge amount in the last 18 months and, it's been hell. But what we've learned throughout it has been pretty cool, actually.